Okay, welcome here in the Battleground. It's Wednesday, 10 August, year of our Lord 2022. It's 90 days to game day, and quite frankly, 60 days, just 2 months until all these absurd mail-in ballots go out. So we got a lot of work to do. Big victory ahead of us as long as we work. Let's go to huge breaking news, as you saw on the 5 o'clock show, out of Mar-a-Lago. Let's go to our own Jayne Zirkle again. Jayne, thank you very much for being there. Another hot day in Florida. Talk to us about the MAGA. Last night, people showed up. They were very enthusiastic, very peaceful, tremendous support for President Trump. Another big day where they're attacking him from all sides in New York City. We also are finding out from the Justice Department. The Justice Department is throwing Chris Wray under the bus, saying that was totally his call on this raid. Put us in the room there. Tell us where you are and specifically talk to us about the MAGA Patriots.
Well, Steve, over to my left is Mar-a-Lago, the scene where it went down. And over to my right is the hub of where these support rallies have been forming. There have been Patriots coming out since August 8th, and they've been nonstop. They are 120% committed to this cause, and they are energized and ready to show up on November 8th. Now, last night I spoke to one gentleman who described it as this gathering got so big that it looked like more of a parade than just a small informal gathering. And because of that, the Palm Beach police did have to sort of condense the crowd into the area over to my right. And that did sort of shut things down a little bit. But people are continuing to show up. They are continuing to show up to support President Trump. And they are absolutely outraged over what went on over here.
Jayne, let me ask you, the New York Times has a big article today about extremist voices. They talk about War Room. Jack Pozzolo, many of the guests we have on here saying, hey, we're at war, using that metaphor. And they're saying, they're stirring people up to violent action. The New York Times is clutching their pearls. Do you get any sense of the patriots there to support President Trump? Do you get any sense that those folks would engage in any violence, or just the constitutionally guaranteed ability to protest and have their voices heard?
Absolutely not. These rallies have been 100% peaceful. People have been cooperating with law enforcement, and there have been several members, particularly of the War Room posse. Just over there, I saw a car saying, "Watch War Room" on it. I've had several people come up to me and say hello. Energy is great. The energy is positive, and we are here being peaceful, supportive, and constructive.
Jayne, you've had the chance in the last couple of days to talk particularly to people, the Hispanic Americans, Cuban Americans, about the countries they came from and why they came to the United States. Can you share with our audience what their thoughts are? Many of these people coming from dictatorships, authoritarian governments, communist regimes. Why are they particularly pouring out? President Trump's supposed to be a xenophobe. He's supposed to be a nativist. They tell us he's a racist. Why are Hispanics pouring out? It looks like at any one time they're a third to at least 50% of the gathering down there. What is it about the Hispanics, and what attracts them to Donald J. Trump?
Definitely. So the Hispanic population has been a huge percentage of people down here. There have been many signs, such as Latinos for Trump, that people have been displaying, and they are energized because, like you said, they have firsthand experience. We're not too far here in South Florida from Cuba, where many people have fled to America for safety, for refuge. They understand what communism looks like. They're saying, hey, what's going on, what went on in Mar-a-Lago on August 8th, 2022, is reminding them a lot of what they came from, and they don't like that. They don't want to see the United States of America, the greatest country in the world, turn into Cuba, turn into communist China, turn into Russia. They want to preserve America, its Constitution, and the values that we stand for, that they believe in and they know benefits their families.
Jayne, last thing. Do you see you've been out there with us since the beginning, the first night you went over. Do you see any of this abating anytime soon? Or is it more Letitia James and the more beatdowns that President Trump is getting at the hands of the administrative state? Do you think the enthusiasm there in Palm Beach at these mini rallies will continue?
From what I'm hearing, they will continue. I've heard of plans this weekend to form an even larger one, potentially do some of the famous boat parades that Florida's been known for with, multitudes of boats waving Trump flags. So there's talks of that right now. And, the energy is high, the morale is high. And so you can expect to see more of this, and you can expect to see a lot more of this across the country.
Jayne, what is your social media? How can people follow you, particularly tonight until we get back on air tomorrow morning at 10 a.m.? How do folks follow you?
You can find me on Twitter, Getter, and YouTube at Jayne Zirkle.
Okay, Jayne's going to be out there with the rallies tonight in support of President Trump. Jayne Zirkle from Palm Beach. Thank you very much. Calamity Jayne. I heard some folks actually were shouting that from the bridge, Calamity Jayne, since they saw her at CPAC. Thank you very much. I now want to go to Dave Bossie. Dave, you got a brilliant piece up. We had Monica Crowley on yesterday to talk a little bit about this, but then I saw your piece. I think it was in Newsweek that I saw it, or the Washington Times. I forgot, one of these two. I want to talk about that. But first, give me your sense. We now know from stories breaking in Newsweek, Dave, and others, that it looks like the Justice Department is throwing Christopher Wray under the bus, and the senior leaders of the FBI. They're saying, hey, we had nothing to do with this. This was totally the FBI. They thought they were just doing a normal course of business search for documents. They had no earthly idea this would blow up. One, and this is all in the Newsweek article, with unnamed sources at Justice Department that were authorized to talk to Newsweek about the story. Dave, you're an old Washington hand. Is somebody running something up the flagpole quickly to make sure they're not taking blame for this?
Well, yeah, you can believe that, Steve. But let's just start from the beginning here. First of all, I served as the chief investigator for Congress back in the 90s when we were investigating from the beginning, from Whitewater, from Bill Clinton, all the way through the impeachment. And I served in that capacity and learned exactly what these people were capable of, whether it was the FBI, whether it was the Department of Justice under then Janet Reno. This action was not taken by Christopher Wray by himself. There is no way that he did that. Christopher Wray must answer, and he must answer immediately. He must resign, and I believe he should resign immediately without question. And Merrick Garland.
Slow down. Are you saying you don't believe with the leaked story? You don't believe the leaked story? You think Justice Department's leaking a story that they're lying to try to put it all on Christopher Wray? I just want to make sure I get where Bossie's coming from, because you're one of the smartest guys in D.C. about this. You think the Justice Department is lying? Okay, go ahead.
I've seen this act before, Steve. So have you. These people are inside the Department of Justice. This is an insidious operation to hunt and destroy Donald Trump. Period. End of story. They will do. It has been proven for 6 years. We don't need to see anymore. They will do whatever it takes to not. Oh, this is what it's about. It's about him not being able to run for president. They want to, through their means, take away 75 million votes. They want to stop the 50% of the American people who supported Donald Trump in 2020, and he is obviously the presumed nominee in 2024. This is the only way they feel they can stop him. That's my belief and opinion, and I can tell you, having been around the block a few times, I think that there's some credibility to it. So Christopher Wray must go. Merrick Garland must get before a House or Senate Judiciary Committee immediately, this afternoon, tomorrow, without delay, and explain exactly how this happened and whether he signed off on it or not. And I don't believe that there is a judge in America that would have approved this type of search warrant without the Attorney General's approval. If that happened, that's a whole series of other questions.
Okay, but hang on for a second. Hold on. if you don't believe the leak, and they're very specific, these unnamed sources who Newsweek says are senior Justice Department officials that are authorized to speak to Newsweek for this story, okay? They're saying they had nothing. This was all at the FBI, and they thought it was a normal course of business, and FBI was doing it, and they really didn't know anything about it. If you're saying that's a lie, and they're just trying to shove Chris Wray under the bus, and you're demanding that Chris Wray resign immediately and Merrick Garland go to the Hill to explain himself, aren't you essentially saying after Garland explains himself under oath, he should resign also? Because you don't buy the fact that Merrick Garland didn't know about this and at least okay it. And you're saying even the magistrate judge, although they didn't go to the federal judge running the case, they went to Florida to a magistrate, a federal magistrate, but still just a magistrate judge. You're saying that guy would have never approved it unless he knew it had DOJ authorization, not just FBI?
What judge in America in this political atmosphere that we are in is going to sign off on because some jamoke FBI agent rolls in and says, hey, we're going to raid the former president's house at Mar-a-Lago, by the way, while he's in New Jersey at Bedminster. Okay, we're not communicating with his lawyers. We haven't asked. No, judges, that would be a reach for a federal judge to do that. Now, could it have happened that some judge woke up in the morning and said, I'm going to do this to get Donald Trump, and I believe the FBI? It begs credulity. It begs credulity. Let me just say this. Merrick Garland, you need to answer for this. And if it is true that Christopher Wray was run amok, that the FBI was run amok, then you should be impeached because you are not managing that department. And Kevin McCarthy and McConnell need to be presenting facts and evidence now to prepare for January to move against Merrick Garland. We cannot have a Justice Department that is run amok. It is antithetical to what we are as Americans, and we cannot have this.
Look, I want to make sure everybody understands something. Bossie and I go way back. We're very close personally and professionally. People know Dave as head of Citizens United. They know him as a great filmmaker. They also know him as deputy campaign manager on the winning the winning campaign in 2016. I just want to make sure people know your bona fides when it comes to investigations. Just give us quickly your curriculum vitae of what you know, because you're at the highest levels running these investigations. You dealt with the FBI and DOJ on literally a daily basis at the Attorney General, the head of the FBI level. Just tell the audience what's your background in this.
Well, when the Whitewater Committee, special committee was created in the United States Senate in 1995, I was brought in by former senator, United States Senator from North Carolina, Locke Faircloth, to work with Al D'Amato, the chairman of the committee, and Orrin Hatch, and an incredible group of U.S. senators. And we went up against Paul Sarbanes, who was the ranking member, but Richard Benveniste, and an incredible cast of really dedicated partisans on the other side that we were investigating Bill Clinton. And what we did throughout that was create criminal referrals on a host of Clinton administration officials, including Webster Hubbell. We investigated the Vince Foster death. We covered everything in the first couple of years, 95 and 96. And then Newt Gingrich, who was then Speaker of the House, saw what I was doing. And Dan Burton was chairman of the Committee on Government Reform and Oversight, the main investigative body, and they brought me over, and I became chief investigator for that. And I led all of the investigations onward. Okay. And so
hang over a second. But I just want to make sure people understand something. You dealt in one of the most controversial investigations in American history that led to an impeachment of a president. He was not removed from office, but led to an impeachment of the president, the first since the Civil War. And people forget it's not like now, but man, it was contentious, and particularly given where the country was, it was contentious all get out. Dave Bossie, before I let you go, my question to you is, would you have ever, even back then as partisan as it was, have you ever seen the Justice Department and the FBI as out of control and weaponized as a political weapon in your life, sir?
Not to this extent. We did see Janet Reno and her Justice Department throw their bodies in the doorway of justice to stop us. But that was to protect their president, Bill Clinton. That is different than weaponizing, okay, and militarizing this Justice Department and this and this Federal Bureau of Investigation. There must be accountability. Joe Biden must answer questions. If he's capable, he must answer questions of whether or not he knew about it. And I know the White House is saying they are done. They are not to be believed. Okay, they are not to be believed. It must be proven. It must be proven that they didn't know, because there's no way you would raid the former president's home at Mar-a-Lago, in my opinion, without Merrick Garland's approval and Joe Biden's personal sign-off.
Wow. Bossie, how do people follow you? We're going to get you back on tomorrow, the next day. When we get you up on camera and see that lovely visage. What's the social media? How do people follow you? Because it's pretty explosive. Bossie saying that. Yeah, you're saying Joe Biden's got to answer and make. Go ahead, sir.
Go. David _Bossie at both Getter and Twitter, at Dave Bossie on Truth Social, and you can go read that Washington Times piece that you mentioned, where I compare Joe Biden to Richard Nixon, and I believe there's a lot of similarities there. People really need to look at.
We'll get you back on here and talk about it. Dave Bossie, thank you very much. Dave Bossie saying that Joe Biden's got to answer. I got two heavyweights on deck. Let me go to Vernon Jones first. Vernon, you've been involved in Democratic Party politics, as partisan as they get. They play hardball down in Georgia. We understand that. Give us your sense. You know, you're personally very close to President Trump. Give us your sense of the FBI and the Justice Department, particularly what we're hearing now. DOJ is throwing FBI under the bus, saying, hey, we didn't know about anything. What is your take on actually the desecration of Mar-a-Lago by the Federal Bureau of Investigation, sir?
Well, first of all, there's no question that Joe Biden and Merrick Garland, they have weaponized the Justice Department, weaponized the FBI. If you're afraid of taking on your opponent and you want to use the Justice Department and the FBI to damage your opponent to the point where he can't even qualify to run, that goes to show you how desperate they are. This is unprecedented. It's never happened before. The door is open now. The barn door is open. You go and you raid a former president's office over some archive records, which you could have had communications. I'm sure they did have communications with their staff about these records. They did it with Obama. When in fact, if you look at Hillary Clinton, not only did she have classified information on her personal server, look what she did to her phone. She destroyed a lot of stuff, and her staff was given immunity when they started questioning about classified documents. So you have two tiers of justice here. This is clearly, even those that were on the fence about President Trump, this really goes to say that President Trump was right about this Justice Department, about the deep state. They spied on a presidential candidate. They spied on a president-elect. They spied on the actual president. What they did to Carter Page, what they did to so many. Steve, this is just there's no other agency in the federal government now, including the military, that has not been weaponized by Joe Biden and his administration.
Vernon, let me just ask you, you were born at night, but you were not born at last night. Do you believe that they went down there with those FBI stormtroopers just because of this archival? They're saying that's what it's about. Do you believe their primary mission there was these archival records, Vernon Jones?
Well, anybody will tell you, I have a history of dealing with prosecutors who abuse their office, do things. You know, they're opening a door up over here, but really they're trying to look over there. This was primarily, I believe, to get in there, have a way to get the search warrant, to get on the grounds, and to try to find anything. They just need one single thing. It may not be related at all. You can even go back to Bill Clinton. It wasn't related to Whitewater that got him in trouble. What got him in trouble was when he lied before in his testimony, sworn testimony. And so they are trying to find just one piece of evidence on anything. It could tie back to the Manhattan District Attorney. It can tie back to the Southern District of the Justice Department. It can tie back to anywhere, to any agency, law enforcement agency, that can get him on just one single issue, just one. It only takes one. And so if anybody thinks that this is not a net that's being cast wide, I mean, this president has beat 2 impeachments, among other things. Steve, you're right. I wasn't born last night. And I can tell you this. I know some may think I'm slow. I went to school at night, but I can tell you this. This is pretty obvious. What is going on here, and anybody think otherwise, they either never had to deal with the government, law enforcement agencies, how they abuse their power, or they just don't have a clue at all.
Vernon, how do people follow you now? What's your social media? Give us the website, sir.
Vernon Jones GA. Go to Vernon Jones GA, at Vernon Jones GA on my social media, and you can go to my site again at jonesforgeorgia.com, jonesforgeorgia.com. Steve, thank you so much for bringing us to the forefront. You know what we're dealing with. We got to continue to get people to understand this is not about the president. This is what they can do to them, to every United States citizen in this country, Democrat or Republican. This is exactly what can happen to you. So it's not about the president. It's about you, an American citizen.
And Vernon knows that. Vernon was a Democrat, came over to the MAGA movement, and they've been after him to tear him apart day one. This is about every American, every independent, every working class populist Democrat out there. Understand they can turn this apparatus right on you. They've turned it on many people, Vernon Jones and Donald Trump. And hey, Donald Trump's just an example. Vernon, thank you so much for joining us here in the
Peace
War
out.
Room. Let me go now to a friend and colleague, Bill Gertz. Bill, I've got you on here. You've got a major piece about the Wuhan lab, and I've got a great young individual running for Congress who's going to come in a second. But I got to ask you, Gertz, you've been around D.C. a long time. You're one of the great veterans. You know the national security apparatus. You know the intelligence apparatus. You know the FBI is as good as anybody in town in DOJ. Give me your perspective and you're very close to President Trump. He reads all of your columns. He totally respects you as far as being an old China hand and understanding the CCP. Gertz, talk to me about the FBI in this raid, your assessment.
Well, I've covered the FBI for decades, and I can tell you that I don't know if it's weaponized, but it's definitely politicized. And it began under Louis Freeh several administrations ago. The thinking was the FBI is a conservative, patriotic, pro-American organization and anti-communist. And they didn't like that. The left didn't like that. So they began to systematically skew the FBI through hiring practices, through policies. And now we've reached the point where it's become a woke organization in a lot of ways. Now, I think during the Trump administration, they did turn their focus on China, especially counterintelligence-wise. They did some good things there. So I'll give them credit for that. But they have become politicized. I think we saw that in Peter Strzok, who was, one of their top counterintelligence officials and turned out to be a liberal left political activist in charge of the major counterintelligence unit at the FBI.
Bill, you're talking about Louis Freeh's back in the 90s, and I had the whole situation with 9/11. But you saw the rise of China. Look, your reporting alone has laid out the unrestricted warfare of the Chinese Communist Party against the American people. And honestly, until Trump got in, and just a few things, I think at a very, Grundoon level, you really haven't seen him going after it. How do you rate their record, the woke FBI against the Chinese Communist Party in the United States, sir?
They have not done enough. That's for sure. I think part of the reason is they don't have good intelligence on Chinese networks. They're beginning to come to terms with it. For example, what are they doing against the United Front Work Department? That's really on par with the Ministry of State Security and the PLA intelligence organization. They've got to do more on influence operations. The FBI is tasked with countering foreign disinformation and influence operations. and they have not done enough on that score. There's major Chinese influence operations that are underway, whether it's election, whether it's influencing our politics. We're seeing more and more of that, and they've got to crack down, especially on United Front Work Department, which is this Communist Party of China quasi-intelligence and influence organization.
Bill, hang on for a second. I'm going to just hold you through the break for a moment. Bill Gertz is probably the most well-sourced reporter and columnist in all of Washington media about the Chinese Communist Party. He's been fighting the Chinese Communist Party for many, many decades, and he's too nice a guy to really beat the FBI down. I think they failed on all levels, and it's been a disgrace. And I think they've gone beyond politicization to weaponization. We're going to return. Bill Gertz has got a major piece, as he often does, in the Washington Times today about the Wuhan lab. We're also going to go to Arizona 4. People don't normally in MAGA think about this. They think about going after this because it's so heavily Democratic. But there's a young man out there that's now got the nomination. I think is going to really shock people and turn things around in Arizona 4. We're going to be back going to Arizona in just a moment when we return in the War Room.
War Room Battleground with Stephen K. Bannon.
Okay, welcome back. We have Bill Gertz, the Washington Times. We're also going to get to Louis Pozzolo, who's running in Arizona 4. Bill, quite frankly, another blockbuster story of yours coming from the Washington Times about the Wuhan lab. Tell us what you've now seen. I guess it's in congressional testimony that is, quite frankly, as we've said on this show from the beginning, and you were with me the night we heard it back in January, I think January 15th or 16th of 2020. Gertz was sitting right next to me. Gertz, what do we found out about the Wuhan lab through testimony?
On gain-of-function virus research in China. Of course, that's where the Wuhan Institute of Virology came in. Stephen Quay, who was one of the experts who testified at the hearing, I think it was Government Affairs Emerging Threat Subcommittee, and he disclosed that through a forensic inquiry that was on the NIH Gene Bank website. This is a database of all DNA sequences. And the Chinese mistakenly put up a whole bunch of data from the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And Stephen Quay's researchers found out that they have a virus on there that they were working on called the NEPA virus. Now, NEPA is an extremely deadly virus that's 60 times more deadly than the COVID virus. And here the Chinese were working on this. And interestingly, the Centers for Disease Control has classified this as a bioterrorism weapon. So here you have the Chinese violating the Biological Weapons Convention by conducting this research on this NEPA virus. It's quite a disclosure.
How long have people known about this, Bill? I know you just reported it today, but how long have people known about this?
Well, it was just released at the hearing last week. Rand Paul was in charge of he was co-chairing the hearing on this subcommittee hearing. I mean, the whole issue of gain-of-function research, the Chinese are obsessed with bat coronaviruses, of which the COVID virus is one. They've discovered some 2,000 viruses just in the last 5 years, and they're manipulating the gene sequences of these viruses to make them more infectious to humans. Now, recently, Anthony Fauci, the NIH guy, was saying that, we need to continue to do scientific research with China. The United States needs to cut off all research with China until they come clean about the kinds of dangerous virus research they're doing at the Wuhan Institute of Virology.
But Bill, look, the whole concept of building a level 4 lab that the French built under supervision, or they supervised, was once again a commitment by the CCP, who had already lied when they came into they lied 40 years ago. They lied when they come to the WTO. They lie all the time about their adherence to the Biological Weapons Treaty, knowing that they're doing NEPA, knowing that CDC classifies that. When do you think the government, I realize in the hearing it was just last week and you're now reporting it, but when do you think our government actually came aware of the fact that the Chinese Communist Party is openly putting up on their website where they're working with weaponized viruses and doing additional gain of function to create something that's 60 times more deadly than the COVID-19 CCP virus?
Well, I contacted the State Department's ABC Bureau. They're the ones that do arms control compliance. And I asked them, are you aware of this? Got no response. I also contacted NIH and CDC, also crickets, no answer from them. So I'm hoping that Congress will pick up the ball here and pass some legislation that will prohibit any kind of cooperation with China on medical or health research until they disclose everything they know about the COVID virus and about these other dangerous viruses that they're working on, including the NEPA virus.
Have we talked about having these hearings with Fauci? And the thing is going to be this going to be another article of impeachment. This is out of control. This is out of control. Gertz, we're going to get you back on. I'm going to talk to you after the show. This is another blockbuster. They're actually working on NEPA. It's up on their site, inadvertently put it up. 60 times more deadly than COVID. And they're brazenly in your face violating a treaty that they're supposed to be working under and adhering to, and they lie with a straight face. And the CDC and these guys know about it. Gertz, what's your social media? What's the website they go to? And how do they get your magnificent book, sir?
It's at Bill Gertz on Twitter, Getter, and Truth Social. Also, the Gertz File is my website, and I've got a new podcast called Victory Over Communism. You can get that at victoryovercommunism.net.
Bill Gertz, you're a good man, and you're a great reporter. Thank you very much for coming on here, sir. Honored to have you on there. That's a patriot.
Thanks,
I have
Steve.
to get Gertz back on in one of these morning shows and talk about the Louis Freeh of it all. He knows this. He knows the institution as good as anybody. Okay. When you mention Arizona 4 and the congressman is out there, everybody says you're wasting your time. You're never going to defeat him. He's dug in. It's a D+50 district. It's in the heart of one of the most liberal parts of one of the greatest states in the country, Arizona, which is MAGA land. Let's bring in Louis Pozzolo now, who has a Republican nomination and is going to take on the Democrat. Sir, walk us through the district, and why do you think when everybody says Arizona 4, forget about it, that's such a Democratic stronghold? Why do you think there's enough MAGA voters there, or you can convince enough MAGA voters that the Biden regime is working against their interests, Louis?
Well, in Congressional District 7, we have 82% of the border between Arizona and Mexico. All the ports of entry are in my district. Poverty is double than any place in Arizona. Inflation is hurting our people. Crime, fentanyl. I think everybody's waking up. We have more independents than Republicans in CD7. We also have 64% Latino. Latinos are waking up and understanding now the policy from Donald Trump were a lot better for them. When they're paying $5 gas and they're making $50K a year, they are feeling the pain, and now they're looking into, hey, I want to go back to what happened between 2016 and 2020. I believe we have a shot. People are tired of the policies of Democrats in CD7. Hopefully the Republican Party can see that, this is very important to take this seat back away from a guy, who's been there for 20 years. It's open borders. He's not doing anything to stop the Sinaloa cartel to push drugs and smuggle people and children into our district. This is very important to take over this district. And, I'm not a politician. I'm a business person, an immigrant who came to this country escaping similar policies. This is my last stand. I don't have a place to go. I wasn't planned to be in politics, but I'm fighting for my district.
Let me ask you, he's one of the more powerful Democrats, at least purports to be one of the more powerful Democrats out there. This is a real stronghold. And he's put forward on media all the time, particularly to talk about the racist nature of the MAGA, immigration. Trump's a nativist, Trump's a racist, Trump, hates Hispanics. Tell me how you counter that, sir.
Well, I believe, I'm Hispanic first, and second one, people are tired of his message. Raul is, he always go to Washington and talk about that, but he's absent in our district. Nobody have seen Raul Grijalva in the last 20 years. Nobody, he doesn't do any town halls. He doesn't walk the neighborhoods. He doesn't connect to the people. Basically, the only place you can find Raul Grijalva is by 9, 10 o'clock. You can go around the Tucson bars, and you will find Raul somewhere already drunk at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's a reality with Raul Grijalva. He just forgot about the people. They understand that, his message is just rhetoric. Now you have a guy who's an immigrant, and it's another Latino guy who's working, with a party who was able to provide solutions to our people for 40 years. And people are seeing that. I see a lot of good reaction, especially from Democrats, from Latinos, and independents coming into my race.
Louis, when you give me a minute on when you talk to folks in the district itself, you walk around as a Hispanic businessman. What are they telling you? The 2 or 3 things they really want you to focus on for them?
Crime is number one. Drugs and education. We have overdose and fentanyl in Tucson. That's the epicenter of overdose. And you're talking about middle school and high school children. We are not talking about 60, 70 years old people. They get overdosed and get killed by fentanyl. And of course, the absence of prosperity. Raul have killed, businesses, especially the mining. What 74% of the copper use in America come from my district. And Raul Grijalva has been fighting mining. He's been fighting every type of business who is trying to invest in our district. And poverty rate is been increasing, especially in Tucson, in the area where he's from. And people are feeling that. People want solutions. People say it is time to change. They are open to change. And that's what they feel. The feel that they have right now, we need somebody else. Raul has been there for too long. I don't see the solutions. Let's try somebody else.
Louis, how do people give us your social media and how do people get to your site and check this out? This is this is an amazing race, particularly since you're not a career politician. So how do people find out more about you?
Yeah, you can go to my website. My social media is Luis4Congress.com. You can find me Luis4Congress.com. Anywhere, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and my website is Luis4Congress.com too. So easy to find.
Louis, thank you very much. Look forward to having you on here many more times as Arizona is a true MAGA state, and you're the classic MAGA politician. Somebody came from being an entrepreneur and not a career politician. So a breath of fresh air. Louis, thank you very much for joining us here today in the War Room.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. A pleasure to be in your show. Honor to be in your show.
Honored to have you on here. This is the future, ladies and gentlemen. That's how we're going to turn this thing around, folks, just like that. And we're going to be everywhere in every state and every congressional districts. Everything's achievable. Everything's winnable. Okay. Now I want to break. We're going to come. I want to really break down the administrative state. This FBI raid is all about that. I want to go back to my talk at CPAC, and I'm going to end tonight with really the most heart-rendering interviews we had in all of CPAC. A young woman sitting there, a mother, talking about the Chinese Communist Party from mainland China. Okay, here we go. My speech at CPAC on the administrative state.
China collapses in front of them. The last line of work was the deconstruction of the administrative state. When I said that, they had the media back there, all the things. So CPAC was in Washington, thousands of people. And everybody's sitting there going, deconstruction of what? What is this madman talking about? The audience stood up and cheered. They know what the administrative state is. We can't call it any cutesy name like the swamp anymore. This is not about getting rid of 2 regulations for everyone. We have a 4th branch of government that's a Leviathan. It's a Leviathan. It's been created, by the way, it's anti-democratic because they set it up to be impervious to elections. This is how we won more elections than we've lost, and we've lost the country. And President Trump's brilliance, he was able to think through the court system. We now are on the edge of a revolution that we can take this on and deconstruct it. How? Because of the Supreme Court and the federal court system, right? Brought to you by Donald J. Trump. When the history of this time is written, the Roe v. Wade, which was so monumental, and the right to lifers, absolutely 50 years with no money, incredible, incredible, incredible. That's going to pale in comparison to EPA versus West Virginia, okay? EPA versus West Virginia. That's the one that's got them scared. We now have a court system with major legal intellectuals, Gorsuch, Kavanaugh, Alito, that are going to give us that that's going to be the driving force in taking down the administrative state. And look, next year, they're going to talk about the independent state legislatures to devolve all the powers back to that, including this is where elections are going to be decided. No longer with these governors in these northern states that have Republican assemblies, but they want to change the rules for mail-in ballots. We have a court system, finally, that is going to be on our side and directionally go. This is why Kash Patel, this great patriot, people think Kash is just a genius about counterterrorism and national security and everything like that, and he is, and he'll be the head of the CIA in the second term. But Kash understands the administrative state. This is more than a bureaucracy, right? This is an organic thing that's grown. It has its own courts. It puts its own legislation out in the Federal Register. It has its own enforcement capability. It's an absolute government that must be taken apart brick by brick. And Kash showed us how. Axios has been reporting it. Remember, we have 4,000 political appointees in any administration. Roughly 1,000 have to be Senate confirmed, so they're going to take a while. 3,000 can hit the beach day one. In 16, obviously, it was a come-from-behind victory. We didn't have this. We didn't have the troops. We hadn't really gotten organized like that. But now we have no excuse. This is why you have all these great think tanks coming up. We're going to have a well-trained cadre of people that will hit the beach day one. And their number one thing is to start taking apart the federal bureaucracy brick by brick. In the next 24 months, starting on November 8th, through the 24 elections, we have the opportunity that will never come again, ever, ever. We have the ability to shatter the Democratic Party as a national political institution. And how are we going to do it? Do you see Moms from America? We're going to do it at school boards. We're going to do it at school boards. We're going to do it at election boards. We're going to do it at medical boards. We're going to do it at canvassing boards. We're going to do it at state legislatures, county supervisors, the House, the Senate, all of it. And once we do it, by the way, if you look at the cycle, we could take the House right now with 40 or 50 seats. There's 74 in play. We should take every one we can possibly get. We can win D plus 8 and 10. Why? Because as the Mom for Liberty said in Babylon Bee, this cultural revolution, the Hispanic and African American community are two of the most conservative communities socially out there, and they detest what's going on. And they're not prepared to back a party that's going to be nothing but groomers, destroy their young men, and destroy their young women. The Senate cycle in 2024, we could actually get a Senate that's filibuster-proof. And the return of Donald J. Trump to the White House. But this time, trust me, those people out there, the people that come here, the people that work so hard for Kari Lake that made that victory possible, her victory, she won in every district, every county, every precinct in Arizona. The game day vote was 70-30. She got outspent $30 million to $3 million, and she was on Fox, besides the great Maria Bartiromo. She was on Fox News one time in 7 months. One time. And that was Bret Baier, who regretted that interview. By the way, the Bret Baier, trap he said in the attack piece, has Kari came out, that's the difference between the varsity and the junior varsity. We can't mess around this time. The American people are going to entrust us. People talk about, succession, we ought to be leaving states, Texas ought to leave. That's all nonsense. We're 2/3 of the nation. All they talk about in MSNBC is democracy, democracy, democracy. We're going to give them a democracy suppository on November 8th.
Where are you from?
Dallas.
Dallas?
right here, yes.
Why are you here at CPAC?
Well, because of you guys. I've been in January 6th. I've been there. I've been following you guys for a long time. I'm from communist China, so I know how.
Ah, you're from mainland China?
Yes, yes,
Take down the CCP?
yes. Yes. Because I know. 老百姓.
Tell us how bad the CCP is to the great people in China.
Oh, it's super, super bad. And anybody want the communist or socialism, they can move to China. Please go. Yes.
Thank you.
Please go. Don't stay here. Don't destroy our country, great American here, please.
I want you to tell America right now, or what you're seeing, since you came from communist China, or what you're seeing of these radical Democrats and these globalists. Is it like what you saw in communist China?
Yes, actually, absolutely worse. Kind of like back in 1949, before the communists took over. That's exactly what happened. The history is repeating itself. They give you all the glory, imagination, but everything is control. They want to control everything of us. They don't want any freedom for anybody. Okay, so that's what happened in China right now. You think the economy is okay, but nobody has a freedom over there. That's why I escaped China back in 1992. I do not want to go back to China.
Are the CCP, is it atheist?
Yes, they are. They don't believe in God. That's why they can do anything they want, they think. And that's why they don't have moral stand. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Does it scare you? Does it scare you that you're seeing the same things coming over here?
Absolutely. I'm telling you, my kids actually being brainwashed by social.
Your children, you believe, are being brainwashed here in America as bad as in CCP, mainland China?
Yes, they were born here, they're American citizens, but I was shocked when they telling me what they're thinking. So I was totally did not know they will brainwash my kids like this. So we need to start working at from school board, from everything. We need to take over. We need to take over. We need to bring back our generation, our country.
This is why we're at war.
Yeah.
It's 100% war, no doubt about it.